Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Where were you taking, Mr. President? Were you taking to the bunker?
No, we're taking just out over to the Oval Office. Just told me when he came up, you pretty much saw it like I did. He said, "Sir, could you please come with me?" So you were surprised. I was surprised also. I think it's probably pretty unusual. It might not have had anything to do with me. It might have been something else. But they'll have a full report. Secret Service.
Are you rattled by this at all, Mr. President?
I don't know. Do I seem rattled? It's unfortunate that this is a world, but the world's always been a dangerous place.
Trump yesterday. You know what's interesting about that? So I watched it, and I said to myself, I don't care if you like the president or don't like the president, right? That just the fact that that kind of thing happened, you think, well, what's going on here? They're bringing him off. Usually when you do something like that, something's gone down. Now, there was a shooter in front of the White House. Apparently took a shot or did something to a non-White House employee. They took him down because, as we all know, you don't mess with the president. Regardless of which side, the Secret Service only know that's what I protect. Politics aside, I protect that person. If somebody even gets within sniffing distance of that person, we take them down. But it was just weird. The whole optics of it all. He's sitting there giving his thing. Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President. He's looking over and there's, who's this guy, right? This isn't a guy that we'd normally see. You need to come with us, sir. You need to come with us, sir. And there's just something, about that, regardless of the politics side of it. And it's hard to say that because there are people out there, I'm sure, were hoping something happens to Trump. It was just a bizarre situation. And you looked at it and you're like, well, that's weird. That's weird. He's fine. Shooter, not so much. Find out more about him later. Just one of those situations. It was a weird situation. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Moderna, AstraZeneca, everybody, you guys need to stop what you're doing. Russia has finally figured it out. They have done it big time. They've got a vaccine.
President Putin claiming it's passed all necessary testing, but many scientists inside and outside Russia very concerned over what they see as a hasty approach with just a small number of study volunteers. Russia essentially declaring victory before finishing its final stage 3 trials. All this as Oxford, Moderna, Pfizer and others are moving forward with their phase 3 trials with at least 30,000 volunteers.
Yep, 30,000 volunteers. They've already figured it out. Ian Panel there. Here's the question. Russia, would you take it?
Well, I wouldn't take it, certainly not outside a clinical trial right now. It appears that it's only been tested in several hundred patients at most. There's some reports that it's been in as few as 100 patients. It's an adenoviral vector vaccine, so it's based on a viral vector that's being used to deliver the gene sequence that codes for the epitope, in this case, spike protein.
That's Dr. Scott Gottlieb. Would he take? Of course you take it. It's good. I gave it to a daughter yesterday. She's fine. Maybe. I don't know. She fell out the window. That's sad for her, but she was always troubled. You know what I mean?
If you remember, the Chinese were also developing an adenoviral vector vaccine by a company called CanSino. That's in clinical trials in Canada. Early data on that vaccine isn't very encouraging. A lot of people had antibodies to the viral vector itself, and so they effectively neutralized the viral vector because it was based on a common cold. The virus that was being used to deliver the gene sequence in this case. And it's not clear how efficacious the Russian vaccine is going to be and whether or not people have some prior immunity to the adenovirus that they're using to deliver the coronavirus gene sequence.
Yeah, not clear. I don't know what guys say. The doctor, he talks crazy, but he fine. Doctor, he understand very little, not smart doctor. I know he got thing where they gave him doctor probably at like strip mall in America. He's not real. Would you take it? 2 places I'm not taking vaccines from. Number 1 place is China. Not taking a vaccine from China. Not doing it. Sorry. And Russia. I'm going to it's like a super hard no on this one. Just pass on that, and we'll move on. Pass on that, we'll move on. I don't think they have the vaccine. They always want to be first. Welcome to the world of Russia and China. Kazoo, they're competing with us. They're competing with the Western world in a way that they feel like they have to get a one over. They'll declare victory over something. They'll do it like we've come up with a great thing. It's fantastic. It's not. Step back. You and I both know it's much crap. Bunch of it. But hey, congratulations to you guys. You guys solved nothing. Chad, that's not fair. We do good. Yes, of course. We make Pretty Lady and we make drink and we make now vaccine for fix everything. I don't know what happened to daughter. She fell out the window. It's shameful. A lot of people fall out the window around me. I don't know why. Settle down, Pooter. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program, check out Chad Benson Show TV on the YouTube. So Mitch McConnell and the Dems are no closer to getting anything done whatsoever, but they are great at sound bites.
Rather than compromise, our Republican counterparts said take a hike. Quite literally, they said virtually this in the room. No, it's going to be our way or no way. We're not going to meet you in the middle. Why? Why wouldn't they? When the needs are so great, when there are so many people suffering and so many more who will suffer if we don't act.
Chuck Schumer there. So they said take a hike. Mitch McConnell, what'd you say?
I'd hoped the Senate would be spending this week turning a major agreement into law. But sadly for the country, sadly for struggling Americans, the Speaker of the House and the Senate Democratic leader decided we would not deliver any of that.
No, because look, the Democrats are in no rush to get something done if they think it can hurt Trump. They'll continue to keep the arguments going. If it helps Trump, then why would they do something? So the potential to help Trump, as they're seeing it, by coming up with some sort of clean bill that restores $600 a week till the end of the year, takes out pork in both of those. Neither of them want that, right? Like the Republicans do all they can to make sure that it looks good. This is all politics. This has nothing to do with you or I. Has nothing to do with the people. This has all to do with the politics of the game that's being played. And it's sad that we're in a situation like this. It is. But the reality is, this is where we are. We've got a system that is two parties where both of them are about making sure the other team loses. And the reality is, there are no teams. We are the same team. At the end of the day, you can have a disdain for your congressperson and your senator, but you live where you live, and they're supposed to be on your team. But we don't look at it like that. Whether it's Republican or Democrat, we are divided. Some of that you can blame on Trump, but let's be real. Long before Trump got here, the division was getting stronger and stronger. We have set it up so we need a third party, and we need one bad. It doesn't have to be big, and we've talked about this on this show for years. A third party that is truly independent of these two. A third party that's strong enough that they're going to be the deal makers in situations. A third party where somebody says, hey, we got 40 seats here in the House. You need us. Hey, we got 5 or 6 seats in the Senate. You need us. You need us. And I like some of what you're doing, and I like some of what you're doing. Some of what you're doing, not so much. Some of what you're doing, not so much. So we're going to all have to come together here, and we're going to have to give a little bit to get something done. This two-party, when we talk about monopoly in this country, the monopoly of politics is strong. Neither party wants a third party to come on and do what? Break up the party. Because while there's two parties, there's one big party. Behind closed doors, they're fighting and spending and laughing. Behind closed doors, they're saying to themselves, we built ourselves a fiefdom. We've got a monopoly here that is insane. We jury-rigged this. You know, you look at they gerrymandered. So gerrymandering is, they've set it up in a quick snapshot where they've drawn up districts where they're basically going to hold the line. Because you don't want one party to overly dominate. And maybe we need a party to overly dominate for a few years and have a fractured other party that grows into this exhausted majority that we're becoming. Maybe that's a good thing. But right now, with two-party system And the other party's not about, hey, I've got better ideas than your ideas. It's, hey, I'm going to do all I can to run out the clock, make you look bad, and talk about how weak your candidates are and how weak your politics is. And ours is just a little less weak than yours. And because of that, we'll have the chance to run the show for a little while. Then you'll see that we'll jack the pooch and overreach. And then you guys will come in and win. And it goes back and forth. But the ball barely moves forward. And it doesn't move forward in a productive way for the American people. We need a strong third party. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. Love hearing from you. Check out Chad Benson Show TV. I can't believe you don't like our thing, Chad. It's good. It hurts me deep inside because it's made with Russian vodka and hard work is what it is. No longer have the coronavirus, but your liver fell out. So there you go. I can't even believe it. We got the vaccine. Nobody knew we were working on it. We got the vaccine. It's great. It's absolute great. HelloFresh. Last night, a little steak. It was delicious. Little green beans. So easy to put together. So I get home late. Takes me a few minutes. 20 minutes or so. Now, what do you get with HelloFresh? Well, it's delivered straight to your door, so it's contact-free, which is beautiful. You get 22 chef-curated recipes each week, and you choose those. Like, I go with, it depends on the week. I've tried the vegetarian. I've done the low calorie, actually. It's not bad. It's really good. And then I have the family friendly option, which is mostly mine. But, that's kind of who I am. We all know that I have the palate of I have the palate of a 5-year-old. If HelloFresh can feed me and I can be happy, that's a win for everybody. That is. So here's the thing. You don't have to worry about never ending meal planning. You don't have to do any of this in this crazy world. You're going to save 40% versus shopping at your local grocery store. From the time you say, we're going to go with this meal, they've got the recipe, you take it out of the bag. About 20 minutes from the time it gets to the oven to your plate and your mouth. It's incredible. Great thing, too, your delivery days. You can change those. You can add meals. You can skip a week. Whatever it is, HelloFresh is flexible to fit your lifestyle. Now, you can get started today with America's #1 meal kit. All you have to do is go to HelloFresh.com. Use the promo code Benson. When you do, you're going to save $80 off, including free shipping on your first box. That's promo code Benson at HelloFresh.com for 80% off, including free shipping on your first box. HelloFresh.com. Promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
In 1917, they say, right? The great pandemic certainly was a terrible thing where they lost anywhere from 50 to 100 million people. Probably ended the Second World War. All the soldiers were sick. That was a terrible situation.
He meant First World War. And watching everybody just go after him. If Biden would have said that. Yeah. Let's be real. That's why I was talking about third party. Just for a second. Just let's be real. Best we can do, these two? Best we can do at this moment in time. 360 million Americans. Some of the brightest minds in the history of forever live here and now. And we can do no better. And I'm not talking, look, I don't mind some of a lot of the stuff that Trump would like to do, I'm totally in favor of. I'd love to see a stronger border. I wasn't happy with the way that things were going at the border, with the separation immediately. But come on, right? I looked at our corporate tax rate. I thought it was too high. Well, Chad, that's not. Look, I'm going to tell you this. I have a friend who's a pretty well-to-do, pretty big name. And he and I were chatting one day. He's like, dude, you could charge me 100% tax. My tax guy will find out a way that I pay nothing. It's all a game. But our corporate tax structure was such that, the people were wondering why our people were taking money and putting it elsewhere. Because they had to. And it's stupid. They go to Ireland and stuff like that. I was for some of this stuff. I want to pull us out of all of these endless wars. See Obama. What is that supposed to mean? Go look at Obama's record when it comes to this. So he came when there was 2 things going on. He left. There was, 6 or 7 different countries we're in. That's an issue. We should not talk about that. Right? Endless drone strikes. And I'm not talking about surgical, let's get this bad dude. I mean, it's a lot of that stuff I like with Trump. But I understand why people are over it. I do. And I look at this, and I get why people are frustrated on both sides of the aisle that there's not somebody else that could be running in these things. No. And part of that goes back to what we were talking about. No third party. Third party. Remember, to enact change, you don't need everybody. You need enough that makes a bit of a difference. That's why I always tell everybody, watch what's happening with the woke culture, the crazy lunacy of the cancel culture. Watch what's happening. You don't need 50, 60, 70%. They've talked about it and done studies in the past. You get anywhere between 12 and 16%, you can start to see change. We don't need 100 seats in the House and 30 seats in the Senate. For a solid third party, 5 to 7 in the Senate, especially with the way things are so tight right now, and probably 30 seats in the House. That's not a ton, but that's enough to make a difference. Could you imagine a country where we come together and we say, look, we gave some, we got some. At the end of the day, you're not going to make everybody happy, but this thing advances the ball more than it would in a much better way because it was all about doing something that was right for the people rather than the parties. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. We're in for an ugly fall, winter, but as bad as it is now, there was a worse year. Oh, Lord, there was a worse year. Be happy this is going on now. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We also heard what the head of the CDC, Robert Redfield, said. I do think that the fall and winter of 2020 and 2021 are going to be probably the most difficult times that we see in American public health. Give us a bit of a reality check here. What should we expect?
If we do not do the things in a uniform way that I'm talking about, I totally agree with Dr. Redfield that as we get into the winter and fall, with the likelihood that we'd have a convergence of 2 respiratory diseases, we could have a very difficult time.
Absolutely. Here's one thing, though. Something to think about, Mr. Doom and Gloom. I understand that he's doom and gloom. Fauci, he's got to be that way. That's his gig. Here's one thing to think about. I think this year, because we're going to be wearing masks, we're going to be social distancing, I don't think the flu season is going to be as bad because just based on what we're doing, it's probably going to stop the flu season from happening the way we've seen it in the past, which will be good. Plus, we're not going anywhere. We're staying in. Most offices, our office here in our building, we got an email last week that we will not be having anybody return until at least mid-January. So normally here, 70 to 100 people a day coming in and out of here working. So you've got all the techs that work on all the shows. You have all the hosts. You have all the salespeople. You have all the sales assistants. You have all the managers. And then you have all of the other characters that go along with the business aspect of it as far as, you know, the numbers and not happening till at least mid-January. So I think that alone will mitigate some of this. But he's right. It's going to probably be a little bit ugly. It's probably going to get a little bit ugly come fall and winter because there will be a convergence of some of it. But we don't know what that looks like, and we don't know what we're going to be in 2 or 3. With this thing, we have no idea what we'll be in 3 months.
Seeing those images out of that high school in Georgia, students in the hallways, many not wearing masks, little social distancing, it went all over social media. And now we've learned that 9 students and staff have already tested positive in that school alone. Do those images concern you? And should all students in this country be wearing masks?
There should be universal wearing of masks. There should be, to the extent possible, social distancing, avoiding crowds. Outdoors always better than indoors, and be in a situation where you continually have the capability of washing your hands and cleaning up with sanitizers.
Yeah. It's normal stuff. Just wash your hands. That should we really have to? Okay, I'm going to tell you guys this again. You need to wash your hands. But I know we're over washing the hands as far as how many times you wash your hands in a day at this point in time? A ton. You'll go out of a room, into another room, go back into that room, then go, yeah, I should go wash my hands. Should put some Purell on. And that's not even when you go to the bathroom. I mean, there's so many things that's going on. Yeah, I get it. Should we wear a mask? I think kids over the age of like 10, 11, yeah, you're totally fine. Once you get into middle school, you can try to have them do that. You can try. You can try. It's going to be tough. It is. It's absolutely be tough. It's going to be a tough winter and fall. And getting kids back in school is going to be tough. And we need to get kids back in school. We absolutely, that is a must. How do we do it safely in a way? And look, I'm not going to pretend like kids don't get sick. We know they get sick.
Now we're going to maximize. We're going to put 50 million more kids in close contact. I think you're waiting for a second fire to erupt. You're pouring fuel on a raging fire. Children that do get sick get very sick and very often have disease of the brain. They have heart disease. They may have aneurysms, ballooning of the arteries. This is a coronavirus. We've been living with them. They give us colds. And there's every reason to suspect this virus, even though it can kill you, behaves pretty much like a cold virus in terms of transmission.
All right. That's a little bit much doom and gloom. Dr. William Hazeltine. I think there's been about 20 kids who have passed away since February, give or take, from this. And there's been 15, 20,000 kids that have died from other things. The flu's far more dangerous. We don't know the long-term effects of this. We don't. We do not know the long-term effect of this. What we do know, though, is just based on data, and if that's what we're going on, the risk to children, especially under the age of 12 or 13, is very minimal. Like, you better chance to win the lottery, hitting by lightning kind of minimal. We need to be smart. It's about keeping the kids safe, but it's also about keeping the administrators and teachers safe without being ridiculous. Here's a question that nobody's asking. Fauci, fast forward 6 months. We can't get an effective vaccine. Moderna doesn't work. AstraZeneca's Oxford thing, both of them work at like 20%. It's better than nothing. What do? Do we learn to live with it, through it, around it, which is what I think eventually we're going to have to do? How does that work? If you go and look at what happened with the Spanish flu, people always ask, is the Spanish flu still around? Is the Spanish flu still around? It is, actually. It is still around. No. It is? Yeah, it is. Most of our ancestors and the people who caught it, over time, they built up some sort of immunity to it. Oh, really? Yeah. Is that what's going to have to happen? Probably not. I do think we'll get there, but we're not asking some of the questions about the what-if scenario. What if we don't have an effective vaccine? We can't live our lives like this. Do we finally say, and just go for it? Because we can't wait for another trial after another trial after another trial after another trial. At some point, we're going to have to fish or cut bait. When is that point? And I think that's something that needs to be looked at. You don't want to put timelines on things, but you know what? You find out when you start putting timelines on certain things, not only does it give people some hope, it also lights some fires. Sometime in the future can be any time. So we're going to have to figure this thing out sooner rather than later. But we need to start asking some of those questions. Hey, Dr. Fauci, what if we do not have an effective vaccine? Then what? How do we go about it? Flash forward 3 years. We can't live like this. There won't be anything left of the global economy, let alone ours. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. I love hearing from you. We talk about the doom and gloom. And I don't think it's doom and gloom. I think we're going to be in a much better situation in the coming months. I really do. I think we will find something that's effective enough that we can mitigate this spread. And through natural antibodies on top of that, this will become a nuisance, but it will not become something that is going to cause us to shut down every 4 to 6 weeks or once a year. I just don't think that's going to happen. But we hear about it and oh my God, it's the worst ever. Is it really the worst ever? In examining the worst years in history, we're not even close.
Year 536, worst year ever. Byzantine historian Procopius noticed some trouble was brewing in the air while traveling with his boss in Sicily. He wrote of a sun that gave forth light without brightness during this whole year, and it seemed exceedingly like the sun in eclipse. Translated, it was all dark outside like all the time. Michael the Syrian, a Byzantine scribe, would later write of this period, the sun became dark, and its darkness lasted for 18 months. Each day it shone for about 4 hours, and still this light was only a feeble shadow.
So, 18 months of darkness. Wonder what happened.
Researchers later discovered evidence of a massive volcanic eruption, spreading ash and destruction on a global scale. Not to mention, it made the grapes sour and the wine bad. So not having direct sunlight for the duration of at least a year did a real number on the crop output around the world, and sparked a widespread famine around the globe.
But wait, we're in the worst year ever. No, we're not. We think we're in the worst year. So if you look, 740,000 deaths, awful. Over 20 million people have been affected. Here in America, over 500,000 people and about 165,000 people have died. That's totally, we'd love to see zero. That's not realistic. Let's be honest. It's just not realistic. So that was their 18 months. Now, anything else?
There was also a plague or two waiting in the wings to strike on these vitamin D-deprived immune systems. Symptoms, as it was lovingly described, began with a sore that formed on the palm of the hand and progressed until the afflicted one could not take a step. The legs swelled, then the buboes burst and pus came out.
I'm not dead!
Yeah, he says he's not dead.
Yes, he is.
The estimated 50 million people died from it.
50 million people died. And this was when there was probably only 52 million people on the earth. So let's get this correct. 50 million people. This is the year 536. So we're in 2020. So 536, 18 months of volcanoes, no crops, a mini ice age, a plague or two. Is there more?
Researchers discovered evidence deep in the ice sheets of Iceland and Greenland that indicated a major volcanic event occurred around 536. The volcano in El Salvador went blasting off around the year 535 or 536. When combined with the two Icelandic volcano eruptions, it kicked off what was adorably called the Late Antique Little Ice Age. This cute little ice age cooled off the planet for at least a decade and resulted in the death of crops and subsequently people. 536, worst year ever.
Yeah, when you talk about global warming, you ask any scientist, would you rather it really drop in temperature-wise or rise a little bit? They'll say, well, overall, it's rising a little bit, probably a little bit better. So they struggled. We didn't. Our first world problems totally did. Could you imagine CNN back then? Wolf Blitzer broadcasting from some sort of little shack or lean-to or cave, blaming everything on Trump. Trump made volcano explode. Trump-cano kill world. I don't know if that was what they sound like. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Well, you know what? It is a crazy time, though. And I will tell you this. Gold is where you need to put your money. Gold is huge. Right now, Bank of America, they're thinking the next 18 months, gold's going to go to $3,000. $3,000. Think about that. The marketplace is strong. It's over 2,000. You've got a weakening dollar, and the forecast isn't any better for the dollar. It's time for you to figure out what you're doing with your money and get into it. You need to diversify. Gold and silver is where it's at. Valor Gold Group is who you need to call. 800-202-6936. 800-202-6936. They're going to teach you how to protect your wealth and retirement from the potential crash of the dollar. They've got a time-tested, proven strategy to help protect against these types of crashes and inflation, on top of the fact that you're going to, yes, see an increase. They've got 50 years of experience in the precious metals industry over there at Valor Gold, and they're here to help you. Look at the volatility, see where they're going, understand that the potential right now is massive. And the stock market, while it's doing okay, a lot of that money is being pumped in by the feds. Weakening dollar, pumped in by the feds, inflated prices. Time for you to get into silver and gold. Valor Gold Group, that's who you call today. 800-202-6936. 800-202-6936. Or go to valorgoldgroup.com/Chad. VALOR goldgroup.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
In 2018, an episode of Blackish that took on President Trump, divisiveness in America, racism, and other subjects was mysteriously pulled before it could ever air. ABC and Blackish creator Kenya Barris said at the time that they made a mutual decision not to run the episode because of creative issues. But now you can see what the fuss was all about. The episode Please Baby Please is available on Hulu.
This sucker wanted to build a wall between us and our neighbors.
In a statement, Barris writes that he hopes the episode inspires some much-needed conversation about where our country is going and, most importantly, how to get there together.
We're not going to get there together. Not the way that people think. That's just it. We are completely on opposite ends of the spectrum according to news media and everything else. That's not the reality. It's not. Now, the people that are in echo chambers. So you may be one of those. You're in an echo chamber. You only love Trump or you only hate Trump. There is no in between. You hang out with people that also believe the same as you do. No, you're not. You're not going to get there. The other 70 to 80% of us who aren't driven by politics, who pay attention every 4 years because you're too busy living your life, you're not driven by that. You're not. And we'll take back the country. Because I tweeted something out earlier. I said it's time for a third party. It's time for a real third party. We don't need a ton. People are like, oh, libertarian. That's not a party. How about a party with not crazy? Right? When you're running Gary Johnson, who was the other guy? What was his name? Was it McAfee, Phil? He was libertarian, right?
They were all running. This year's candidate is Joe Jurgensen, I think.
Yeah, Joe Jurgensen. We need somebody who's got name recognition at the top of something. Well, what does that mean? Somebody who can say, look, I can reach across the aisle, and I'm big enough and strong enough that I can get your attention. I've always said when we have a real third party, when it pops, and it's going to be somebody who's going to go like a Mark Cuban, who says, you know what? I don't need you and I don't need you. I've got the money I need and I can run and I've got name recognition. And the trickle-down effect will happen. And we need to see more of that in small elections across the country. Small, tiny elections across the country. We need more third-party individuals, not running on the green ticket or libertarian sounds great, but here's the reality of it all. There's so many different areas. You need to treat it as you're going to treat a business. You need to come at it like that. I'm here to do the best job for the people. I'm going to serve up the best that I possibly can, the brand of politics that we need, which is I'm not going to make you all happy. At times, you're going to be mad at me, and other times, you'll be happy with me. But let's hold people accountable and judge me on the job, not the Twitter, right? Not judge me on getting stuff done, the actions. But it's going to take a while to build it up. But I think we will get there eventually, because I think we have no choice. The system itself is going to eventually, based on where we're going, it's going to start to snap, and there'll be cracks, and we'll fill those cracks. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. We should Twitter. Tweet at me if you guys haven't heard. The Russia come up with vaccine tastes nice. I think it tastes nice. And my daughter had it. She's fine. She fell out the window. Sad for her what happened there. But she don't got coronavirus. That's good news. Yes, right? Putin makes yet another joke. Make great comedian of all time. Big time. You better laugh or else. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Clearly, this isn't about COVID. Democrats think they smell an opening they have wanted for years to make Uncle Sam bail out decades of mismanagement and broken policies in places like New York, New Jersey, and California.
Is there something to that, Mitch McConnell? Absolutely there is. There is absolutely something to that. Having grown up and lived in California, you know, we're the fifth largest economy. I always heard that when I was a kid. But then I started realizing, man, we made a lot of promises to a lot of people here working for the state, all these unions, that we're never going to be able, no matter how high you make the taxes, we're never going to be able to do that. They got themselves in trouble. They saw taxpayers leave and people who wanted stuff come in. And California's had their issues. New York is having massive issues. I mean, last week we played it. Cuomo's begging rich people to come back. I'll take you to dinner. I don't think they care at this point in time. They just don't want to pay our taxes. No, they don't. So they're leaving. And when your tax base leaves, see Detroit. All you have to do is look at Detroit. Detroit used to have a very large tax base, so their tax base was big. City started becoming run down. It started to become really expensive. It started being overtaxed. People moved out to the suburbs. The city went from 3 million to, 800,000, a million people in the surrounding area. Nothing compared to what it was. Crime-ridden was issues. You look at New York, what's going on there crime-wise? Insane. Los Angeles? San Francisco? I'll take a hard pass. There are issues there. Is that all it's about? No, because the states are going to need some help. Those are red states out there, too, that are going to need some help. The end of the day, we're stuck in a position where we're unfortunately having to turn to government because government has gotten themselves into the coronavirus to the point where, through no fault of your own, you may not even have a job. Your industry may not exist in a healthy way for years. So people are going to need some help. My question is, why can't it just be a regular skinny bill? Let's take things on. Why do we have to take things on one at a time? This is what's weird about politics. Politics is crazy in the sense that we just can't look at something. Let's address this. I'm not saying we don't plan for that. I'm not saying we don't look at it next, but this is the thing we need to address. People are out of work and they're hurting. You've got the economy that is struggling big time, not just here, but globally. We've got industries that have been completely decimated, some that may never recover from this. So we need to give people a helping hand up, and we need to do it by a clean, quick bill. That's it. We're not looking for anything else. But politics isn't that way. Politics is like, let's do everything right now. I look at politics like you go to the gym, like you eat a salad, you drink some water, you go to the gym, and you do 5 sit-ups, and you wonder why nothing's fixed. I just did everything. No, it's going to take time. So address those things one at a time. Let's do that. We don't do that. Instead, they argue and fight because it's more important about a soundbite and pleasing your base, and, of course, making the other side look bad, not the people to look better because they're in a better position.
What we're seeing is illusion. What the president does is say, I'm doing things to help people, which he isn't. And then the stations pick it up and say the president's doing something to help people. And it's all about one thing, the stock market. And the markets pick it up, the markets go up, and that's his question. What's the market doing? The president's illusions, they are bolstering the stock market, and we're saying, let's bolster America's working families.
That sounds great, except for the stock market's being, and has been for, well, since Obama took office, buying. So much of that stuff is overinflated. So much of that stuff completely is. Some of it's a good value, but some of it is overinflated. And the whole thought process of Trump doing an executive order, which to this day everybody's still kind of confused about. How does it actually work? Your state's got to get involved. Blah, blah, blah. He did something. You may not like it. You may look at it and say, well, the payroll tax is kind of stupid, right? As Pelosi does.
He cannot alleviate the tax cut. He can only defer it. And if he were to forgive it, it would hurt Medicare and Social Security. It's important to note, as you're giving your history lesson, the difference between Democrats and Republicans when it comes to meeting the needs of the American people. It shouldn't be partisan that we would feed our children. It shouldn't be partisan that the President of the United States would say to people in the course of a pandemic, guess what I have for you? A benefit cut.
Wait, what? This is gibberish. Let us explain to you. They care about themselves. They care about getting reelected. Democrats, they scream they're the party of empathy. But look in large Democratic cities across the country. Some people have done really, really well. The people that they rail against, people who, they've done really well. And then those people are like, we're so guilty, we've done really well. But it's all a game. It's an illusion. And until we have a strong third party, until we have a party that is ready to actually address the needs of the people by doing something which is amazing. You ready for this? Everybody gather around. Holding the other parties accountable. What? That's it. Hold the other parties accountable. That's all you do. You don't have to do anything else if you're in a position of that kind of power. If you look around the globe and you look at a lot of other political ways that things are being done, a lot of times you'll find a third party. And that third party won't be strong. It's not 33, 33, 33. It's not that way. It's not 25, 25, 25, and then, the other 25% is made up by little bitty parties. Usually what it is 30, 35, and then one other good third party, and then a bunch of little parties. And that other strong third party really doesn't do a lot. Kind of in the center, but what they have to do is to get the votes, to get stuff through, they have to come to that third party. Dear third party, we're trying to build a coalition here to get something through. We want all of this. Well, I don't want you to have all of that. I don't think that's basically you want your way. They've got some good ideas here. Well, we don't want to give them any. Well, then I'm not going to be with you. All right. Well, what do you want to get rid of? I like what they're saying over here. Let's add some of this. I'd like to throw some of my own in here. Let's add some of this. Well, then we're going to have to get rid of that. We're going to have to get rid of that. What do you come up with? Is it perfect? No, nothing is. Is it better than what we have at this moment in time? I don't think our founding fathers thought, A, that they would be politicians forever. I don't think they did. And B, that these parties have become so monopolistic and put the people so far away from the real politics and the way that things should be done that they lose touch. That's why we need a strong third party. It's not a hard thing, and you don't have to have 50% to enact change. If we can get a strong 12, 13, 14, 15%, and we can get them inside, and it's going to take time. It's not going to be tomorrow. But I think in the coming months and years, the more that people are disillusioned with party politics, which is your team sucks, my team sucks less, and the exhausted majority quietly rumbles and builds something up, I think the better it's going to be for all of us. Neither one of them have a monopoly on good or bad ideas, but they do have a monopoly on politics right now. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. If you guys haven't heard, Russia solved the coronavirus problem. We can all sleep well. Now, the question would be, would you do it?
Well, I wouldn't take it, certainly not outside a clinical trial right now. It appears that it's only been tested in several hundred patients at most. There's some reports that it's been in as few as 100 patients. It's an adenoviral vector vaccine, so it's based on a viral vector that's being used to deliver the gene sequence that codes for the epitope, in this case, spike protein.
So that's Dr. Scott Gottlieb, who got fake thing with, he's not a real person. Hello, Putin. I'm just saying, not person of realness right there, not doctor for real, probably veterinarian. And when you say patients or people we study, do you mean prisoners? Because, yes, the prisoners took this very willingly. My daughter took it. Yeah, so his daughter supposedly took it, and she's living the dream. I cannot believe that she's living dreams. She tripped, fell out the window. Sad thing. I don't know if she fell out the window. I don't know. Could you imagine that? Like, hey, Mr. President, did you take it? No, why would I do that? It's crazy. I don't have to get it. Me, strong. I fight. Me, watch me wrestle bear. I love those pictures. He's always like without a shirt, playing hockey or wrestling a bear. That's what's in it. It's hard Russian work. Cold, long hours. Gray skies. Fat, ugly woman with one big mole and hair come out, and lots of vodka. That's what's in the shot. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Okay. I would not take one from Russia. I'm going to give a hard pass on China. All right. The Australians and the Europeans come up with something solid. Hell yeah, right? Let's do it. Let's talk about it. Japan? Hell yeah. But I'm going to give a hard pass on Russia and China. I'm just saying. I think we should all give a hard pass on those. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter. Check out Chad Benson Show TV on the YouTube. So check this out, kids and kittens. Cars are lasting longer than ever. And because of that, you're saying to yourself, maybe I need to get something to protect my vehicle in the event that something goes wrong. Car Shield. It's that simple. Car Shield, Car Shield, Car Shield. Now, this is what you do. Call Car Shield up, 800-CAR-6000. Mention code Benson, saves you 10%. Explain to them exactly what you're looking for. My car, I'm worried about whatever it is. Electronics, maybe. Maybe you're worried for your air conditioning or your transmission. They've got plans that fit your budget, starting as low as $99 a month. You're going to get 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. The shop is the shop that you choose. You pay a small deductible, they get them paid. It's that simple. Be specific. They've got something that's right for you. I do it with all my cars. You should do it with all of yours. They are the best, and they will take care of you. Call CarShield today, 800-CAR-6000. Mention code Benson to save 10%. Or go to carshield.com, carshield.com. Code Benson saves you 10%. A deductible may apply. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Separation anxiety? That's dumb. Check out Chad 24/7 at his website, ChadBensonShow.com, and on iTunes, free. The Chad Benson Show. Never feel lonely again.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending.
What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old intranet. What's trending?
Let's find out what's trending in the interwebs. What are people chatting about online? Meteor shower tonight. That'll be fun. Chicago. So you've got the craziness going on in Chicago, and now you have winds of over 70 miles an hour. Craziness. So you got Big Ten football. We're going to talk about football coming up. White House shooting still trending. Rachel Ray's house burned down. Family are safe, but the house not so much. Katie Hill's trending. Now, you don't know who she is. No relation to Benny, although kind of. Chad, you're the worst. She's I don't know why they call her the disgraced congresswoman. She's writing a book. She resigned in disgrace. She shouldn't have. So there was naked pictures of you with another girl and the guy that you were dating or whatever it was, or your ex-husband. Who cares? So you're a little freaky. Good for you. Does that stop you from doing your job? If that stopped you from doing your job, I think we're going to have to get over the lunacy of this puritanical idea of stuff. I wouldn't have left. She didn't do anything wrong. She didn't. She had a private moment with somebody, and then an ex-husband. It got out, and it was ugly because she did some ugly things. But that's a personal thing. I don't look at when it's a personal relationship and people are fighting. They're going to say things to hurt, or they're going to do things. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt. But I looked at it and I said, you know what, just get over yourselves, for God's sakes. Right? She should never have resigned. Just look at people and go, yeah, you know what, I partied a little, had a little bit of fun. It is what it is. Do you have a problem with that? Well, just really, look, let me tell you something. You don't think the powers that be have some freaky in them? You'd be lying to yourself, people. You'd be lying. You find out. Like we were talking about last week. Who was it? Prince Andrew, apparently. What was his deal? He likes to grab women with a puppet of himself. So he's got a puppet made up of himself, and that's what he likes to with the ladies. Think about that. Everybody's got their freak. You know what I'm saying? Head on over to Twitter. New Zealand's got its first case of COVID-19 in 102 days. They're going to shut down the entire country, sink it back into the ocean, and they're going to come back in a few years. People are showing skepticism, as they probably should. We should be skeptical when it comes to the virus that has been apparently cleansed thanks to the vaccine that the Russians have come up with. I don't think that's real. I don't think that's real. Yeah, I don't think it's real either. So a lot of little crazy stuff. But football is definitely taking center stage. So we're going to touch on that. Because the reality is we looked forward to the fall time of year in so many different ways, and there is a chance that we may not have college football. What's that look like? We'll talk about that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Plus, Bernie wants all of your money just for now and for always. Forever. Great. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life.
This is Chad Benson.
In a strongly worded letter, more than 100 prominent black men, including Sean Combs, Charlemagne the God, warned Biden bluntly that, quote, failing to select a black woman in 2020 means you will lose the election. Biden has said 4 black women are being considered. Now we're all just waiting to see who he will pick.
Isn't that weird? Like, what has to be a black woman? So what if you like Gretchen Whitmer? You're like, sorry, you're not black. So, it's weird. I just thought, like, that sounds... And he's going to pick a black woman. I was telling the guys off the air, if I'm Trump, I beat him to the punch. I'm like, yeah, so this is what we're doing. We're going to pick Susan Rice. Huh? I know. It'll just... The wheels will come off. No! What would you do? Let's just say this, right? Let's throw this out there for fun. Living in a weird world. Right, so we're throwing something out there for fun. You call Kamala Harris and say, I like you, kid. Let's do something different in politics. I want you to be my running mate. You take the phone call, right? Well, I don't like Trump. Well, you take the phone call because you can spin it as he wants to try to bridge the gap. You can spin it as he wants to try to clean up some of the mess. You could totally do that. And it was such a Trump thing to do. Mike Pence would be like, what did I do? Nothing. Nothing. You're wooden. Nothing. You did nothing. But that would be a Trump thing. Go out on the limb, call Susan Rice. Call just somebody just like, what? Am I in weird land? Republicans would be pissed off. The Democrats wouldn't know what to do. They're like, it's got to be a stunt. It would just be great. I mean, think about this for a second, right? Think about this. Yesterday, Trump, in some of his ramblings after he was rushed out of the room because of the shooter that was on the front, outside of the White House, and, they take him off really quick. They come back. Trump just goes right into what Trump does and starts talking about this.
In 1917, they say, right, the great pandemic certainly was a terrible thing where they lost anywhere from 50 to 100 million people. Probably ended the Second World War. All the soldiers were sick. That was a terrible situation.
I don't know if the end of the Second World War is kind of funny. I got a note. We're all too sick to fight. So is the other side? See, it's perfect. We'll have a snow day. We'll have a flu day. But they said Second World War. That caused a stir. Could you imagine if he has an honest conversation? Look, you know what? I'm loud. I'm obnoxious. And I know there's times I use the dog whistle. But I also like, shaking things up. And it's kind of, I want to see if I can shake it up even more. Wouldn't you just, out of curiosity, say, well, Mr. President, look, you know what? Yeah, I know you don't like me. But you never really met me. You just see things in the media, and you understand it's politics. It's dirty. You're in it, so you kind of get what it's all about. You know what it's like. Hell, you don't like Nancy Pelosi anyways. Wouldn't you just take the phone call? You just would. And that would be such a Trump thing to do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. He'd just be doing stuff that would just it's all about making news. Well, it is Joe Biden, so we'll see what he does. By the way, if you think that the Joe jokes have just started a little while ago, let's get in our Wayback Machine. How far? We'll go back 11 years. 11 years. Robin Williams.
Still have great comedy out there. There's always rambling Joe Biden. Joe says that even people with Tourette's go, no. No. What is going on? Joe is like your uncle who's on a new drug and hasn't got the dosage right. I'm proud to work with Barack America. He's not a superhero, you idiot. Come here. When FDR was on television, there was no TV back then. Come here, Joe. Sit down.
Yeah. That's funny. That's 11 years ago. 11 years ago. It's not like this week, because obviously we know he's not here. He's done stuff for 11 years. It's fair to ask the question when it comes to Joe. It's interesting, though. Like I said, yesterday people were like, well, if Biden would have said the World War II thing, people would have freaked out. I'm like, No. Let's be real. Biden's had a lot more slips than the World War II. And think about the things that we don't see. Trump, we see every move. Everything is scrutinized. It is over-scrutinized. It is put under a microscope. It is put under another microscope. Everything is picked apart. Every little thing is torn apart from top to bottom. And it has been that way for a very long time. They're going to do the same thing to Joe? Or is it just going to be, Fox and Breitbart that do that? Probably them, but it's totally different when the spotlight's on you 24/7. Joe didn't get that. Obama got that. Joe got a little bit, right? He got a little bit of that light, but not a ton. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me, text the program. Check out Chad Benson Show TV as well. Look, we've been sitting around for a very long time trying to figure out if it's going to happen. Will there be football? Will there be college football? I don't know. Be honest with you, I don't know.
We want to have a season, but we want to do it the right way.
Stanford's Dylan Bowles among the players who organized the Hail Mary effort to save the season.
Without having uniform mandated health and safety standards in regards to COVID, there's no way that the season can go on. So the thing is, we want to be able to, as players, advocate for that.
This as fears grow over the long-term effects COVID could have. An Indiana University football player still recovering from the virus, now facing heart issues.
Yeah. Did he have heart issues before? I don't know. But could there be some serious issues? Yes. Is that going to be the reality for everybody? No, it is not. It's not going to be the reality for everybody. But we looked forward to college football. I think we thought, okay, we've had a really crappy winter. Spring, sucked. Summer, we thought we'd have a respite, and some parts of the country did, but by and large, it wasn't too much different from the first few months. And now fall, changing of the season, the leaves changing colors, get a little bit of a nip in the air, right? Heading towards the holiday season. Football. School's back, high school football rolling, college football, then you got the pros. It's going to be great. Don't know. Don't know if there's going to be football. I don't know if there's going to be any football whatsoever in high school and college, minus a few different places. So the Big Ten, apparently, is in a position where I think they want to punt the season. Judging by the stuff that I've heard, being inside of a place where I talk to sports guys every single day who are very well connected. Also knowing a few and one pretty close president of a major university, I do believe the season is going to be punted. And the Big Ten and the Pac-10 are the two that are really trying their hardest, I think, to get away from this.
Presidents of the Big Ten meet Wednesday to discuss the upcoming 2020 season. Their options: cancel, postpone, or move forward as scheduled. The head football coaches of Michigan, Nebraska, and Ohio State have publicly stated they'd like to see this season happen. The Big Ten, one of 5 power conferences, could have major influence on what other conferences like the Pac-12 and Big 12 choose to do. This week, the University of Maryland, a Big Ten school, announced it would suspend in-person learning on campus 2 weeks.
Now, the biggest of all, and what they're trying to do, is what are they going to do with the SEC? The SEC is the beast in the room. It's the South. It's a religion there. And they're not ready to give it up. They're not. They're not ready to punt on the season. This is Greg Sankey. He is the president of the Southeastern Conference.
We've been involved in testing. We've been involved in care. We've been involved in following local health policies continuously, and I think has provided a healthy environment.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, you're going to be in a position where you're getting tested almost on a daily basis. You're around the best doctors in the world. You've got everything at your fingertips. There's something to that. There is. But I think at this moment in time, and people say, well, why do you have to do it now? Well, I'll tell you why you have to do it now. Because many of these schools that we're talking about, those guys are on campus. Those guys are practicing. Those guys are in the sweltering heat at this moment in time, going out there, busting their butt every single day. If you're not going to play, you need to do it sooner rather than later. You need to do it sooner, meaning in the next day or two, decide what you're going to do. So that way, when the dust settles, and let's say there's 50 teams that are going to go, we're going to move forward with this, because Scott Frost, who is with Nebraska, has said, you know what, screw you guys. If you guys don't want us to have a season, we won't have a season with you guys. We will go somewhere else. We will play because we want to.
There's a lot of speculation, a lot of things swirling right now with what's going to happen. I wish I had all the answers. I don't. I have a group of players that I love, every single one of them. I ask them to fight for us all the time, to fight on the football field all the time. I think at sometimes the head coach's responsibility is to fight for what they want too. Our football players want to play. The coaches want to coach. We want to play football this year at the University of Nebraska.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. But you guys may cancel everything.
We want to play a Big Ten schedule. I hope that's what happens. Our university is committed to playing no matter what that looks like and how that looks. We want to play no matter who it is or where it is. So we'll see how those chips fall. We certainly hope it's in the Big Ten. If it isn't, I think we're prepared to look for other options.
And I think you're going to see that. Who knows? Maybe you'll have crazy world where the SEC and some smattering teams come together and form some weird, Big Ten, SEC, ACC super championship, and they'll put together something that's temporary. Will there be spring football? I doubt it. I don't think there's going to be spring football. It's too close to the draft and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that's going to happen. You never know. And here's something else that I tell everybody. If they were to cancel football, there's a pretty good chance they're canceling college basketball as well, so that would mean another year without March Madness. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program, woundedpawproject.org. You're going to want to go there. Why? Because they're amazing. The work they do in rescuing animals that would be euthanized, dogs, and getting them to our veterans, first responders, and their family is absolutely incredible. They need your help, because it takes a while to train these dogs, and it's not cheap. Several ways you can donate to Wounded Paw. You can go to woundedpawproject.org and give a gift of a vehicle, extra car, truck, RV, even a boat will become a vehicle for change. They take that money, and they use the proceeds to protect, advocate, and transform these shelter dogs into service dogs for veterans, first responders, and their families. You can also go to smile.amazon.com, set your sporting group up to Wounded Paw Project, and you can give cash as well. Their motto is to save a paw is to save a life, and the work they do is incredible. Not just for the veteran, first responders, and the family, but to see the way that these animals are transformed, because they take some of the gnarliest of gnarlies, dogs that have been fighting, dogs that were bait dogs, and they train them, and what they do in the transformation is amazing. Find out how you can help by going to woundedpawproject.org or calling 844-678-4PAW, 844-678-4729. It's the Chad Benson Show.
I, you, he, she, it. Lucy is a girl.
Point of personal privilege, please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
Shut up, boo. Ain't nobody got time for this.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
On the streets, they're talking about how big your superpowers, but they're not talking about how one hit could kill you.
They think they can just test their product on my city? We'll let them see what happens.
Batman and Robin.
No, Batman and Robin, that's a movie. This is real life.
We doing this.
We're gonna end this. That could give you 5 minutes of pure power. Would you take it?
Yeah. Be pretty awesome. Movie coming out, Netflix. Netflix is huge. Just to let you know how huge Netflix is, Forbes has come out with their highest paid actors. And thank you, Netflix. Basically, that's all you need to say. So here's the thing. That's the new movie from Jamie Foxx that's going to debut on Netflix called Project Power, where Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in it as well. But it's got a great cast. You take a pill, and for 5 minutes, you have superpowers. And apparently you don't know what superpowers you're going to get. So it's the crapshoot. It could be really bad, could be really good. Oh, this one sucks. All I could turn into is a squirrel. Well, it's something. Oh, man, you can fly? Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So the highest paid actors, thank you, Netflix. Forbes' annual highest paid actors came out. Adam Sandler is on the list. Well, he hasn't done anything. I mean, he had that movie that came out. Yeah, that movie that came out was pretty interesting. Right? His Uncut Gems movie is pretty interesting. But part of the reason he was ranked so high is because he had a huge deal with Netflix. And he re-signed a deal. So he had a 4-year deal, I think, for $250 million for Netflix. And he re-upped in January when this one it wasn't even up. Jackie Chan at number 10 with $40 million. Sandler with $41 million at 9. Will Smith, $44.5 million. Lin-Manuel Miranda, always screw up his name, $45 million. Akash Kumar, Bollywood star, $48.5. Vin Diesel, $54 million. Not bad. Ben Affleck, $55 million. Mark Wahlberg, $58 million. Again, thank you very much, Netflix. Ryan Reynolds, Netflix current golden boy, $71.5 million. And The Rock, almost $90 million. And he gets a $24 million check from Netflix coming up. So it's not bad. But Netflix was the majority of the money for movies. And it had nothing to do with coronavirus. It's going to be even bigger next year. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet me, text me. You can do one of those bird things where you send it in the note. I'd do that. That'd be kind of cool. Check out Chad Benson Show TV as well on the old YouTube. It is the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We also heard what the head of the CDC, Robert Redfield, said. I do think that the fall and winter of 2020 and 2021 are going to be probably the most difficult times that we see in American public health. Give us a bit of a reality check here. What should we expect?
If we do not do the things in a uniform way that I'm talking about, I totally agree with Dr. Redfield that as we get into the winter and fall, with the likelihood that we'd have a convergence of two respiratory diseases, we could have a very difficult time.
Dr. Fauci right there talking about the potential for it getting even uglier. I think that's a real possibility. And I think part of that's going to be the flu. So what you're going to have this holiday season, sounds like a movie trip, this holiday season, you'll have flu and you'll have this. The one thing about the flu is it's probably not going to be as bad, and I'll tell you why. I'm not going to be doing as much. We're cautious. We'll be wearing a mask. We'll be social distancing. We'll be washing our hands. Kids may not be in school. All of those things play into a much, much smaller flu season. because we're already cautious about COVID. That's a good thing. There's a win right there because we're looking around and kids we're trying to figure out what we're doing with kids. One day it's like, we're sending kids to school. The next day it's like, no, if you send kids to school, that everybody's going to get sick and they all get sick. And there's just, what are we going to do?
Now we're going to maximize. We're going to put 50 million more kids in close contact. I think you're waiting for a second fire to erupt. You're pouring fuel on a raging fire. Children that do get sick get very sick and very often have disease of the brain. They have heart disease. They may have aneurysms, ballooning of the arteries. This is a coronavirus. We've been living with them. They give us colds. And there's every reason to suspect this virus, even though it can kill you, behaves pretty much like a cold virus in terms of transmission.
Yeah, it does. Pretty much. Behave like that. Now, can kids spread it as easy? It depends on the day and depends on the study. Several studies say no. One study says yes. Which one is best for panic porn? The one that says yes, shut down schools, and that's the best thing that we can do.
Who drives colds? Children drive colds. Who drives flu? Flu is driven by young children in households. And that's true of almost all respiratory diseases, including the colds and including the colds that are caused by coronaviruses. And this is one of those cousins. It even uses the same receptor in the nasal passages as one of the cold viruses. It just happens to be a cold virus that also kills.
So there you go. So according to Dr. William Hazeltine, children should never leave the house because they're going to catch something and bring it home and it's going to kill you, or they're going to get sick. There's just no win. Or they could build up an immunity. When I was a kid, we built up immunities. You got a scratch, what happens? You got a scratch on your knee, your mom throws some Bactine on it, and you hope gangrene didn't set in because you watched the Little House on the Prairie and you knew that was bad. That's kind of what happened. Right? You cut yourself really bad. Maybe you went to the doctors, maybe you didn't, but there's no antibiotics. There's none of that stuff. Go back a long way. There was none of that at all. It wasn't even Bactine. We're trying to figure out what to do with kids. We're trying to do all of this as parents figure out how they're going to pay their mortgage, their rent. Are they going to have a job tomorrow? They may have a job tomorrow, but is their job going to be closed tomorrow? They may have a job right now, and it may be okay, but their job may be closing in the future because while there hasn't been a spike in their area, in fact, there's been a dip, in the future it may spike again, and they're looking at the government going, what are you guys going to do? Because you guys are the ones who are playing yo-yo with our life, and it seems like you're doing it for political reasons. Shocker! They are. What are you going to do? The answer is pretty simple. Nothing. They're going to sit around and give you nothing but sound bites as they talk not to each other, but at each other, past each other, to the cameras and to the reporters.
I'd hoped the Senate would be spending this week turning a major agreement into law. But sadly for the country, sadly for struggling Americans, the Speaker of the House and the Senate Democratic leader decided we would not deliver any of that.
No, they're not going to do any of that. Mitch McConnell right there. They're doing none of it. Why? Because this is exactly what they do. So he throws out his.
Rather than compromise, our Republican counterparts said take a hike. Quite literally, they said virtually this in the room. No, it's going to be our way or no way. We're not going to meet you in the middle. Why? Why wouldn't they? When the needs are so great, when there are so many people suffering and so many more who will suffer if we don't act.
Chuck Schumer does his part. Wouldn't be fun if we didn't have Nancy doing Nancy.
He cannot alleviate the tax cut. He can only defer it. And if he were to forgive it, it would hurt Medicare and Social Security. It's important to note, as you're giving your history lesson, the difference between Democrats and Republicans when it comes to meeting the needs of the American people. It shouldn't be partisan that we would feed our children. It shouldn't be partisan that the President of the United States would say to people in the course of a pandemic, guess what I have for you? A cut, a benefit cut.
Whatever she said there. Sound bites. Sound bites aren't solution. Sound bites aren't solutions. And in many cases, they are problems that you've called. And you give us rhetoric and sound bites. We don't need this. I'm not a fan of what Trump did. The payroll cuts, he deferred them, so it's not killing Social Security and Medicare just yet. And he deferred them 3 months, so let's all settle down. He's trying to do something, but he's also asking the states to put in money that they just don't have. Well, here's one thing states don't do that the federal government does do. Print money. Here's one bad thing the federal government does. It prints money. Potential for inflation. We got massive debt. We got to pay that back. I mean, we owe a lot of that to ourselves. But at the end of the day, come on. There's a better way. When you turn to government as your answer, you're going to be disappointed. When you turn to government to solve something, you're going to be left wanting. It's never going to be perfect. Government did not create this mess when it came to the coronavirus, but it has created many other messes along the way. We don't need sound bites. We need solutions. The solution is pretty simple. I think most average Americans who do not follow politics, who care very little for any of this stuff, would go, why can't they just do a bill where, they give us some money because we need the help, and we're in a situation at this moment in time where many people, through no fault of their own, have nothing left because they've exhausted everything they've had, and their businesses and or their livelihood has been put on hold. And why can't they just do it for a few months? And then hopefully by then we'll be in a much better position where we can open up knowing that there's a real vaccine coming, and we've got a therapeutic, and we're moving in the right direction, and we could start to not just slowly open up, but open up. But why don't we do that? Because they can't. Because they're too busy focusing on the victory that they want to have. They're too busy focusing on the victory at hand, which is making sure the other side of the aisle fails. It's not about winning. It's about making the other team lose. Final speech as he was taken off. Guy by the name of George Washington. I know, crazy dude, racist, all that stuff, but whatever. I don't want to get into it. Here's what he said. However, political parties may now and then answer popular ends. They are likely in the course of time and things to become more potent engines by which cunning ambitions and unprincipled men will enable to subvert the power of the people and usurp for themselves the reins of government, destroying afterwards the very engines which have lifted them to unjust dominion. Translation, watch out for political parties. Watch out for political parties. They're in it for themselves. It's about them. It's not about the people. We need a strong third party. We need a party that can come in and hold them accountable, if nothing else. We need a strong third party from the top up. I mean, like big time, somebody who comes in like a Mark Cuban, somebody who's got the money, who's got the means as far as being able to reach people because of who they are, but also because they can reach out to other people that can help and build a strong third party. We're going to break it down how that actually works because somebody asked the question, what about the Electoral College? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Text the program as well. Love hearing from you. Ate great last night. Steak, little green beans. Delicious. Thank you, HelloFresh. I eat great. Here's why. HelloFresh, delivered to my door every week. Every week there's different recipes. They have 22 chef-curated recipes each week. Everything you need. Right now, maybe you're trying to lose weight, low calorie. Maybe you're vegetarian, they've got that. Maybe you're like me, meat, potatoes, family-friendly kind of guy. Guess what? They've got that. And I've tried the low-calorie one. It's delicious. I don't have to worry about meal prepping. Takes so much out of my mind with all the stuff that I do. It's contact-free. It means it comes straight to me. And I'm saving about 40% compared to going to the grocery store. Here's the other thing. If I travel, if I do something, I can change my delivery days. I can add meals. I can skip a week. You name it, they've got it. They're flexible at HelloFresh. About 20 minutes from the time you start everything, take it out of the bag, put the whole thing together with the recipe, from the oven to your mouth. Get started today, America's #1 meal kit. Go to HelloFresh.com. Use code Benson. It's $80 off, including free shipping on your first box. That's promo code Benson at HelloFresh.com. $80 off, free shipping on your first box. HelloFresh.com, promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
Maybe they thought these executive orders would be a way out, so tied in a knot they can't legislate, or even bring themselves to join us to meet in the middle. They were clinging to the hope that the president could do something on his own through executive orders. But as we have seen, executive orders in general aren't going to get the job done. President Trump's recent executive orders are so unserious in terms of meeting the large needs of America as to be pathetic.
He's fun. Chuck Schumer. Parties suck. I said that. We need a strong third party. Somebody tweets in, Chad, you don't understand. What about the, Electoral College? What about it? Keep it there. That's what it's for. Founding Fathers right. Remember, George Washington warned us, hey, watch out for political parties. They're starting, and you don't want that. He's right. How would you vote if they didn't have a D or an R by their name? You had to find out who they were. How would you vote? Probably a lot different. Probably have to, you know why? Because you'd have to listen to what they say. What about their actions? Well, what about the Electoral College? What about it? Let's say there's a third-party candidate, and nobody gets the prerequisite, what they need to be president of the United States of America. Right? So nobody gets there. You know what you have to do? What you do in other countries. You have to build a coalition. You have to go to the third party that may have 45, 50 Electoral College votes, but they have skin in the game now. And by the way, both of them could take and get over the hump. So they're now coming to you going, well, what can we do? How can we, what is it you want? What is it you need? The thought of getting rid of parties it's never going to happen. So what do? We have to put ourselves in a position where the average person who follows politics just enough, but is frustrated and exhausted, it's confusing, they don't like any of these people on either side. Right? Watching Mitch McConnell or Nancy Pelosi gives them the same. It's having a strong third party. Having somebody comes back and goes, bro, we tried everything. These guys are idiots. They're going to give us some stuff. It's not going to be perfect. But, we got skin in the game now. We can make some stuff happen. Hold their feet to the fire. You don't need a lot. And yeah, when you have your Electoral College votes, that's what happens. We're going to have to work together now. Sorry. You guys want a super uber progressive thing? Well, I'm not really into that. I don't mind some of the stuff you guys have, but some of it's ridiculous. You guys want an uber conservative thing that's completely overreaching and insane? Sorry. It's not what I'm about right now. I'm looking at some of the stuff you guys have there, and it's insane. How do you guys meet somewhere where the regular average person lives in their political sphere? How do you do that? Well, you're going to have to deal with us. It's a smart thing to do. What do we have now? We have executive orders. That's how stuff gets done. Trump it's all he does. 179 executive orders to this point. Barack, 276. Bush, 291. Clinton, 254. Start going down the line. By the way, there are some presidents where that's all they did. You just start looking and you're like, oh my God. FDR, the great FDR. The great FDR, almost 4,000. Woodrow Wilson, 1,800. Calvin Coolidge, 12. Theodore Roosevelt, almost 1,100. You get down to where there's Clinton and Trump. These guys don't do anything compared to what people in the past did. Truman did 900. Taft did 724. It's nuts. It really is. Why? There's nothing else to do. By the way, George Washington did 8. For those of you, 8. William Henry Harris, he did 0. Wasn't there a long time. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Remember, we don't need a lot to enact change. We need just enough to make it uncomfortable for both, which is what we want. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Still have great comedy out there. There's always rambling Joe Biden. Joe says that even people with Tourette's go, no. No. What is going on? Joe is like her uncle who's on a new drug and hasn't got the dosage right. I'm proud to work with Barack America. He's not a superhero, you idiot. Come here. When FDR was on television, there was no TV back then. Come here, Joe. Sit down.
Robin Williams, not from the great beyond, but from 11 years ago, talking about Joe Biden. Ramblin' Joe. Trump's trying to figure out something, right? Ramblin' Joe? Is that it? Sleepy Joe isn't going to work. Trump really needs... He really, really, really needs somebody that goes far left and takes a hold. Because you're already seeing it now. Like they're squashing AOC at any, like the tentative schedule has Kamala and Tammy Duckworth and Joe on Thursday for the DNC, and they've got Obama the night before and a few other. But the AOCs, they don't want that. They don't. Because Joe's trying to walk a fine line of, I still want those blue-collar Democrats that we always say, it's about them. It's about that middle American pipe-fitting Democrat who, I'm going to be honest with you, probably isn't as left as you think. If it wasn't for the union, they'd probably be a little bit more right. But they don't want to hear open borders. Taxes through the roof. They don't want to hear woke culture. They want to hear what you're going to do for the working man and woman. Everything else to them is just noise. But noise they start to pay attention to. So he's going to have to walk that fine line with who's going to get on that stage and deliver that speech. What night they do it, how many people are going to really get that primetime position where they're delivering something. And it's going to be different this year because there's going to be the crowds. There's going to be the cheering and the excitement. I will say, I mean, if it wasn't for Obama giving that speech at the convention, there wouldn't have been an Obama. Obama this year giving a speech, you know, in a room by himself or to a very small crowd probably is not going to carry the same kind of weight of doing it in a big arena and delivering something that you're like, oh my God. No. So, but you're going to want to keep make it less is more, if you will. Less is more. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us, text the program as well. Love hearing from every single one of you. Bernie's coming, and he just wants a little bit, or all of it.
The top 467 billionaires in this country, a handful of people, a few hundred people, have seen their wealth increase by over $700 billion. I'm talking about Jeff Bezos. I'm talking about Mark Zuckerberg. I'm talking about people who are already phenomenally rich during this pandemic becoming much richer.
You know who thinks about money? They do. Democrats worry more about your money if you're successful than you do. They try to, how can I get that? So Bernie's coming out with something. He's coming hard.
So what I have done is to bring forth a pandemic wealth tax. And that tax says that during a time when so many people are hurting and suffering, the very, very, very rich should not be becoming much richer.
Okay. The very, 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 very rich. We just need a smidge. We're just going to take a smidge of your money as much as possible. If we could, we take it all. You kind of get that sense with Bernie. Like, I look around at other people and I'm like, it's all a game. They'll say what they say to get elected. But I do believe there are people out there that are like, if he could, he'd grab it all. If he could get away with it.
And what we do with that 60% tax on increased wealth during the pandemic is we make sure that all people in America during this pandemic have health care, and that nobody, whether you have private insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever, will pay any out-of-pocket expenses for the health care they need for the next year.
Well, if we can print money all day, why don't we just print more money? Why do you need everybody else's money? Because we don't want to print more money. Because eventually we're going to have a situation here where we're going to have inflation. I mean, you see where this is going. We walk the fine line here of what is too much. We're taking on debt through the roof. I listen to that. How much is too much? So many people I don't care what somebody else makes. I don't care if Mark Zuckerberg's make $1 billion a second. It means nothing to me. I don't know him. Whether he was rich or not means very little to me. My life, if he loses all this money tomorrow or he doubles his wealth tomorrow, you know how much of my life changed? Zero. Doesn't change. Some people are obsessed with other people's money. They're obsessed with OPM. Like, how can we get other people's money? We've got to pay taxes. I'm in the tax battle right now. I'm not going to lie to you. It sucks. I've been living in California for 3 years. They're like, you owe money. I'm like, how do I owe money to your state? I don't live there. Because they need other people's money to pay for all their stuff. You promise everybody the world, and then when you don't have the money, they get all upset and butthurt because they need other people's money to make their things go. I'm here to tell you now, you're going to have to understand that every state and our federal side, we're going to have to see a tax hike in the coming years to try to recover from this insanity. And a little bit of a tax hike, we're also going to have to see some cuts. It's painful. It's austerity measures. Ew. That's what we have to do. We have to tighten the belt to get through this. If you work out a lot, but you overeat continually, it's not going to help. So we're going to have to work out a little bit more, i.e. taxes, and we're going to have to cut down on some stuff that we would rather not, but the reality is we're going to have to. Food. If we're going to slim ourselves down. It's not hard. It's just the reality of it. It's just the reality of it. But some people are super obsessed with other people's money. And when I listen to Bernie talk, and a lot of other people like him, the uber progressive left, not the average Democrat, not the average Republican, who's like, I want to cut, no. I'm talking about the average person. They look at that and they say, yeah, I didn't even think about it until you start bringing it up. And then at this point, I can't be angry about it. I don't care. They care. Big time. Because at the end of the day, his goal is to get you to look towards government first and foremost. His goal is for you to make government the central part of your life. His goal, like a lot of Democrats, and I'm not even Democrats, progressives, is government should be your God, if you will, your center of your life. You turn to government for everything. And I'm not like that. Self-sufficient. I think it's a good thing. And there's a difference between hand up, not a handout. There's a difference between that. That's why we have a problem right now with all that's going on is both sides are fighting about who can give the biggest hand up to some people and who can also give out the biggest handouts to the powers that be behind the scenes to keep them happy.
What we're seeing is illusion. What the president does is say, I'm doing things to help people, which he isn't. And then the stations pick it up and say the president's doing something to help people. And it's all about one thing, the stock market. And the markets pick it up, the markets go up, and that's his question. What's the market doing? The president's illusions, they are bolstering the stock market, and we're saying, let's bolster America's working families.
But you're doing nothing, Nancy, because what you want to do is you want to take a bunch of money and you want to cover blue states that have struggled. You know, people always say, oh, the red states struggle too. Absolutely. But go look at the blue states and look at the red states. There's lots of struggling going on all over the place. But a lot of what the blue states have done have been completely self-inflicted. What the Republicans want is insane. No, at this time, FBI building that costs $2 billion and some F-35 jets don't need to be in these bills to help you. They don't. The amount of waste and pork and stuff that gets by us on a daily basis is insane. You could not run your life this way in any way, shape, or form. They need Dave Ramsey. It's really what they need. Ramsey needs to come in and say, we need to get you straight with the Prince of Peace. There was a movie a few years ago. Well, God, probably been 20 years now. Kevin Kline, Sigourney Weaver, Charles Grodin. It was called Dave. Charles Kline played, he played the president, but he was a lookalike. And then something happens to the president. They bring him in and said, look, you got to play the president for a while. And he does. And they told him he could start doing some stuff, right? He's kind of enjoying it. Well, what could you do? Well, you can do this. You can save some money here. You can do some of these things if you could find a way to do it. And he brings in Charles Grodin, who's like this just little itty-bitty accountant that's a friend of his. And he looks at the books for an hour and goes, who does these? That's politics. They're great at spending OPM, both sides, other people's money. It's not other people's money. It's our money. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me, text the program as well. Love hearing from every single one of you. Raycon's best earbuds around. If you're going to spend your hard-earned money, stop spending it on stuff. I was just watching a guy, had the little white, earbuds, little stems. It was on TV. It looked like weird earrings he had on. Just weird, don't do that. Raycons are great. They go in your ears, 6 hours of talk time. I mean, they're so slight in your ears. Great style, great comfort, noise isolating fit, great bass, better sound design. Ray J put it together. And when he did, he went out to Cardi B. He went out to Snoop Dogg, people he's familiar with, people he knew, people he's been in the music industry with, and said, check these out. They fell in love with them. You will too. Now, normally for something like these, with the dangling wires and stems, you got to have these. You're going to spend a couple hundred, $250. These are the best earbuds, half that price and then some, well under $100 for these E25s. Get yours today and save big. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad, buyraycon.com/Chad. Save 15%. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Check out our Chad Benson Show Facebook page where you can hang out or hang your grievances out to dry. This is Chad Benson.
In Seattle, shock within the police department. Chief Carmen Best, a 28-year veteran of SPD, announcing she is retiring after the city council voted to slash the police budget and the pay of top commanders. Money will be pulled out of Seattle SWAT and police public affairs.
That's solid. That's exactly what you need to be doing right this second, is pulling more out of there. So remember, Seattle. Right, so they had the Chop Chaz. This was all about all this stuff. It was the Summer of Love, Jenny Durkin doing all their things. So they voted last night, and it was a 6-1 or 7-1 vote with one person who wasn't there for whatever reason. And the one who voted against it, not because she didn't want it, because she didn't think it went far enough. She wants to defund. She wants nothing left. She wants you to call if there's a crime going on, some sort of community outreach, and people will be over in a minute to pick up your tears. Carmen Best was a disaster at best. She allowed her precinct to be overrun. Now, how much of that was her being handcuffed by the city council and the uber wackiness? I think it's fair to say that there's some of that. But she's one of the only female chiefs in the country, black, and she'd had enough.
Overall, there are some good approaches in the proposals. Some of the ideas SPD already had and has raised before. But what is problematic is these are approaches without any clarity on how they will become reality. What is the plan? The push from council and some of our community is to do these large-scale changes in 2020 with no practical plan for community safety. And I believe wholeheartedly that is completely reckless.
Yeah, so she bounced. I don't blame her. I don't. Working under the Durkins of the world, or the Wheelers of the world, or the de Blasios of the world, or the, Mayor Yoga Pants out there in California, it's at some point in time, you're just like, I can't do this. You're taking away tools. You're not giving me the things I need, which is more resources. I can't train my people adequately because we're so absolutely overworked. And we're also the enemy. We get blamed for society's failures. We get blamed for trying to pick up the pieces. Every time something happens that's bad, that a cop does that's bad, all of us take the blame. There's no win. And now you're taking more resources and you're going to put it into programs. And let's be real. Most of those programs, while good on paper and a great thought, most of them suck. They do. Most of them are useless. Let's be honest for just a second. Most of those programs that they put in place for a lot of these things, like we're going to put healthy this and we're going to do that, and they all suck. They eat up a ton of money. They show very little, results. And then what do? They ask for more money. It's not that the program doesn't work. It's just we need more funding. If we had more funding, it would work better. And then you go and give them more funding, and then what? It still sucks. There's no accountability. I want to see money flow into places that need it. Underserved communities. But with that money needs to come knowledge. With that money needs to come experience. With that money needs to come hope on how you build a better tomorrow. And it's going to take time. And in an instantaneous society, that's a tough thing. But why would you want to be a police officer, commander, or chief where you know the city does not have your back and they will throw you under the bus that the other council people are driving as fast as possible? You get the government that you deserve. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Check out Chad Benson Show TV on the thing there we like to call the YouTube. Have a blessed, wonderful day. It is Tuesday, so I advise you, being a doctor of tacos, to go do that. I prescribe you 2 tacos. Have a wonderful day. We'll do it again tomorrow. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.